I can't imagine not having, you work so hard to graduate from high school and then to not have your ceremony. I'm really sorry for our graduates. So a while ago, I got thinking, what could we do here at Calvary Church to help you celebrate this important occasion? Because it should be a day you'll never forget the rest of your life. It's the day you graduate from high school. So you always start off the graduation ceremony by walking around while they're playing pomp and circumstance. So without further ado, Bailey has somehow figured out how to play it. So all of you who are graduating, oh, we have Maddie joining us. Is that right? Yay, Maddie. Here she comes. All of you who are graduating, I see, thank you for wearing your cap and gown, by the way. Bailey, if you could play pomp and circumstance, and all moms and dads, take a picture of your kid walking around your living room.
Ready?
Yeah, you got to stand up and walk around and have somebody take your picture.
Look around. Billy can walk around the table. Billy can walk around the table.
If you don't have a cap and gown, go for it.
Walk behind the couch so we can see you walking back and forth.
Walk around the table.
No.
Yes.
Are you in there?
Yeah.
Do like this. No, I don't want to see it.
Oh.
Just to get other.
Like this?
Yeah.
There they are.
Okay, thanks to our graduates. You got to walk. The technical term is you just walked. You had to pretend like you're walking down a middle aisle, but I wanted to give your moms and dads a picture opportunity to take a picture of you in your cap and gown on a day I hope you will remember the rest of your life. This is a time when you get to celebrate a wonderful achievement, and more about that in a few minutes. But a baccalaureate service is a little different from graduation because it's usually done in like a church or a synagogue, some religious context where they talk about the importance of your faith in your journey to adulthood.
Dance.
And so what we're going to do is we're going to have a couple of readings from the Hebrew scriptures, the Old Testament, and I've asked a couple of you to do the reading. Now, Thomas, I think you are first at the lesson from 1 Kings chapter 3, correct?
Yep.
Would you be willing to do that reading now?
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Solomon loved the Lord, walking in the statutes of his father David, only he sacrificed and offered incense at the high places. The king went to Gibeon to sacrifice there, for that was the principal high place. Solomon used to offer 1,000 burnt offerings on that altar. At Gibeon the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream by night, and God said, "Ask what I should give you." And Solomon said, "You have shown great and steadfast love to your servant my father David, because he walked before you in faithfulness and righteousness and in uprightness of heart towards you. And you have kept for him this great and steadfast love, and have given him a son to sit on his throne today. And now, O Lord my God, you have made your servant king in place of my father David. Although I am only a little child, I do not know how to go out or come in. And your servant is in the midst of the people whom you have chosen, a great people, so numerous they cannot be numbered or counted. Give your servant therefore an understanding mind to govern your people, able to discern between good and evil, for who can govern this your great people?" It pleased the Lord that Solomon had asked this. God said to him, "Because you have asked this and have not asked for yourself long life or riches, or for the life of your enemies, but have asked for yourself understanding to discern what is right, I now do according to your word. Indeed, I give you a wise and discerning mind. No one like you has been before you, and no one like you shall arise after you. I give you also what you have not asked, both riches and honors in all your life. No other king shall compare with you. If you will walk in my ways, keeping my statutes and my commandments, as your father David walked, then I will lengthen your life." Then Solomon awoke. It had been a dream. He came to Jerusalem, where he stood before the ark of the covenant of the Lord. He offered up burnt offerings and offerings of well-being and provided a feast for all of his servants.
Thank you, Thomas. Okay, the second reading is Eve Zaleski with going to be reading Proverbs 1:1-9.
The Proverbs of Solomon, son of David, king of Israel, for learning about wisdom and instruction, for understanding words of insight, for gaining instruction and wise dealing, righteousness, justice, and equity, to teach shrewdness to the simple, knowledge and prudence to the young. Let the wise also hear and gain in learning, and the discerning acquire skill, to understand a proverb and a figure, the words of the wise and their riddles. The fear of the Lord is beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. Hear, my child, your father's instruction, and do not reject your mother's teaching, for they are fair garland for your head and pendants of your neck.
Thank you. And now the reading, this is Maddie Fleming reading Proverbs 3, 5, and 6.
Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not rely on your own insight. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths.
And then I'm going to do a reading from, that's the Jewish tradition, and I'm going to do a reading from the book of 1 Corinthians from Paul from the New Testament. Paul says this in 1 Corinthians 13. He says, when I was a child, I spoke like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. But when I became an adult, I put an end to childish ways. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then we will see face to face. Now I know only in part, then I will know fully, even as I have been fully known. And now faith, hope, and love abide, these three, but the greatest of these is love. What we're hearing here are stories of wisdom. The wisest man, we're told in the Bible, was King Solomon, David's son. And the whole book of Proverbs are his little sayings, that little bits of wisdom that he got in his lifetime. And you've got a lot of wisdom too. You've heard lots of wisdom being shared to you by your moms and dads and your teachers, and you still have a lot more wisdom to go. So do I. Nobody has a monopoly on all wisdom. Solomon just simply put it all together, and we call it the book of Proverbs. The first two readings there we had, or the second reading, were all from Proverbs, which are little snippets, little tiny pieces of the puzzle called life. And it's a way of learning about wisdom, things that we sort of learn, but didn't even realize we were learning it along the way. In a baccalaureate service, we also read from other traditions. And I don't know whether everyone knows exactly who the Dalai Lama is. I know I'm trying to show this on the screen. The Dalai Lama, Tibetan leader of Tibetan Buddhism, he has a letter to all the graduates for 2020, knowing that you all are not going to have your graduation ceremony. And I wanted to read it to you today. It's actually from Time Magazine. Time Magazine published it about a month ago. And this is, again, from the Dalai Lama himself. Listen for words of wisdom that he shares there in the article. He says this: sometimes friends ask me to help with some problem in the world using some magical powers. I always tell them that the Dalai Lama has no magical powers. If I did, I would not feel pain in my legs or a sore throat. We're all the same as human beings, and we experience the same fears, the same hopes, and the same uncertainties. From the Buddhist perspective, every sentient being is acquainted with suffering and the truths of sickness, old age, and death. But as human beings, we have the capacity to use our brains, our minds, to conquer anger and panic and greed. In recent years, I've been stressing emotional disarmament to try to see things realistically and clearly without the confusion of fear or rage. If a problem has a solution, we must work to find it. If it does not, we need to not waste time thinking about it. We Buddhists believe that the entire world is interdependent. That is why I often speak about universal responsibility. You as a graduate are now one part of that universal responsibility. The outbreak of this terrible coronavirus has shown us what happens when one person can soon affect every other human being. But it also reminds us that a compassionate or constructive act, whether working in hospitals or just observing social distancing, has the potential to help so many. Ever since news emerged about the coronavirus in Wuhan, I've been praying for my brothers and sisters in China and everywhere else. Now we can see that nobody is immune to this virus. We're all worried about loved ones and our future. You, most of all, graduates of both the global economy and our own individual homes. But prayer is not enough. This crisis shows us that we also must take responsibility wherever we can. We must combine the courage doctors and nurses are showing with empirical science to begin to turn the situation around and protect our future from such threats. In this time of great fear, it is important that we think of the long-term challenges and possibilities of the entire globe. Photographs of our world from space clearly show that there are no boundaries on our blue planet. Therefore, all of us must take good care of it and work to prevent climate change and other destructive forces. This pandemic serves as a warning that only by coming together with a coordinated global response will we meet the unprecedented magnitude of the challenges we face. We must also remember that nobody is free of suffering and extend our hand to others who lack homes, resources, or family to protect them. This crisis shows us that we are not separated from each other, even when we are living apart. Therefore, we all have a responsibility to exercise compassion and help. As a Buddhist, I believe in the principle of impermanence. Eventually, this virus will pass away, as I have seen wars and other terrible threats pass in my lifetime, and we will have the opportunity to rebuild our global community, as we have done many times before. I sincerely hope in you, graduates, that everyone can stay safe and stay calm these days. At this time of uncertainty, it is important that we do not lose hope and confidence in the constructive efforts that so many are making. As his advice to you, there's wisdom there. Wisdom from the Dalai Lama, the leader of the Tibetan Buddhism. That's the Buddhist tradition. I have another book. I want to just read a little bit of it. It's called The Way of Tikkun Olam. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. I know it's backwards, but it's Hebrew, and it stands for repairing the world. And it's a book written about Jews to the world. It says this: Tikkun Olam means to fix the world. That's quite a task, yet that is precisely the goal of the Jewish tradition sets forth in our lives. It gives us a mission and thereby lends meaning to our lives. It also imposes a heavy burden on each and every one of us every day of our lives. We may certainly take time to enjoy ourselves now and then, and we may not only, but we should spend time with our families and our places of employment. But beyond all these activities and throughout our lives, we must dedicate at least part of our time, energy, and resources to improving the lot of others. Jews understand this almost instinctively. Surveys show that every Jews who doubt the existence or significance of God, who are not involved much in Judaism's prayers, rituals, or holiday celebrations, who do not observe Judaism's restrictions on diet or work on holy days, and or who do not know much about their heritage or devote any time as adults to studying it, nevertheless feel in their bones that they have a duty as Jews to make this a better world, that this is the essence of what it means to be a Jew. As a religious Jew, I would say that it is sad that so many people, by their own description, describe themselves as not very religious. For such people are missing out on a virtual treasure trove of meaning, joy, intellectual ferment, and communal connection that the Jewish tradition offers us. Still, such Jews are not wrong in identifying social action as a key component of what it means to be Jewish, for much of the tradition is devoted to it. In other words, Jews consider it so important to change the world, and that it's every Jew's responsibility, tikkun olam, to heal the world where it's broken. Now, you as adults, you are now 18. Some of you are 18 already. Some of you are about to turn 18. You are going to enjoy the world of adulthood, young adulthood. I wanted to share just a little bit about when I graduated from high school. Believe it or not, I graduated from high school 38 years ago today, June 7th, 1982. I remember the date because it was my birthday. I graduated on my birthday on June 7th, 1982, long before any of you were born. And yes, today is my birthday. Still is my birthday after all these years. But yeah, I graduated from high school, and there's a picture of me giving the graduation speech at the ripe old age of turned 18 on the day I graduated from high school with this little bitty wispy mustache. And I was giving the graduation speech, and I talked all about all the things that I believe. And you know what? 38 years later, some I still believe, some I don't, and that's okay. But I've learned a lot over the years, and I've grown a lot over the years. And what I've learned is how much I don't know. That's the wisdom I want you to hear from me. Every person on this television screen or on these screens right now are probably saying the same thing. I see a few heads bobbing, going like this. One of the things you learn as you get older is how much you don't know. I thought I knew it. I thought I had it all figured out at high school, but nah, it didn't quite work that way. I think wisdom comes in little small snippets, like Solomon the wise, when his Proverbs, he's writing all of his Proverbs, and it may just be one sentence you hear, like from the Dalai Lama when he says, all life is impermanent. You know, the virus will pass one day. What we have today is going to change sometime. All those things are little bits of wisdom, little pearls of wisdom that if you look back and you realize, oh my gosh, I learned that so many years ago. I suggest you as a graduate, you get a log, keep it by your bedside, and write down every day a little pearl of wisdom you learn each day. It can be anything. It can be what seems insignificant, but later on will be very significant. Little pearls of wisdom is what makes us wise. Not how many letters we have at the end of our name, not all the things that we've done in our lifetime, but the things that we still hold in our minds. Now, to the graduates, I have a charge for every one of you who are graduating from high school this year. You ready? Should we have a drum roll? You have to kind of tap on your computer. Kind of like that. How many of you are 18? Okay, I see a few hands. 2, 3. Okay. The day I turned 18, I graduated from high school. I told you that. I also registered to vote. I am encouraging you, the moment you turn 18, if you're not yet, go register to vote. I will never tell you how to vote. I will never tell you who you should vote for or what party to be part of. But I'm telling you, my principle, my speech at my graduation was kind of more about me. But the principal at my high school said, the moment you turn 18, I want you to go register and vote. And I did that day too. And I registered and I voted in every election since then. Every single one. Primaries, general elections, I voted in all of them. I'm not going to tell you who I voted for. The only thing, when people say to me, who should I vote for? I tell them, vote your conscience. That's what you're supposed to do. You can change this country. You can make it a better place by your vote. One of the most disappointing things I often hear statistically, after elections are over, they always say that the ones who vote the most infrequently are 18 to 25-year-olds. You realize in 1971, the 26th Amendment to the Constitution gave you, 18-year-olds, the right to vote. During the Vietnam War, those who were being drafted said they didn't want to have to, they couldn't vote for the person that was sending them off to a foreign war. And so the United States voted to approve the 26th Amendment to the Constitution, giving all 18-year-olds the right to vote. I want you, if you forget everything I say here today, and that's fine, but don't forget this. Please register to vote and vote in every election. Your opinion matters. You are going to shape this country for the future, and we need your vote. Please register to vote. Do it the day you turned 18 if you're not already. Again, what we need to hear from is you. Study those who are running for election. Or better yet, dare I even say it, maybe you'd like to run. Maybe you'd like to run for some office. It may not be, something like the president or what have you, but how about just simply local school board? How about something local right in your own community where you put your name in as a public civic leader? We need people to step up and be counted, and we need people to vote. So I'm encouraging you as our graduates this year, the charge to you is vote. Vote. Do it often, do it all the time, and I hope one day when you're giving this same speech, like the way I'm dressed one day, you tell those graduates, go out and register to vote too. I wish God's blessings upon all of you, and I'm going to finish with a prayer for each and every one of you, and then give you all a chance to do some talking, and then I'll finally shut up, okay? I'm going to do a special prayer today for all of our young persons. Let us pray. God our Father, you see our children growing up in an unsteady and confusing world. Show them that your ways give more life than the ways of this world, and that following you is better than chasing after selfish goals. Help our young people to take failure not as a measure of their worth, but as a chance for a new start. Give them strength to hold their faith in you and to keep alive their joy in your creation. All this we ask through Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen. I'm going to call on each of you. If you want to say something, you can. If you don't want to say anything, that's fine. But would love to just simply hear about you, what you've enjoyed about your school experience, and what you'd like to be doing next, if you would. So I'm going to pick first on Maddie Fleming.
I'm going to DUville for physical therapy, and I really enjoyed making friends throughout high school.
Great. Thank you very much. And now Olivia Madonna. Is Olivia with us? I don't think she's with us. How about Christine Kieras?
I'm going to SUNY ESF for aquatic and fishery sciences, and I really enjoyed taking interesting electives in high school.
Ah, wonderful. Sawyer Kaiser, I don't think is here, but family is here. Sawyer's family, I think, was here. Want to say anything about Sawyer?
No.
Oh, here he is. Yes? Sawyer? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah, he's here. Yep.
You want to say anything about?
I'm going to RIT for environmental science, and I had a really fun time in high school.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it.
Thank you. And Bailey?
I'm going to ECC for auto mechanics, and happy birthday.
Thank you. And Eve Zaleski.
Hi, I am going to Oswego next year in the fall, and I want to pursue becoming a guidance counselor. And high school was great. I met a lot of people and my friends, and I love them all. They're great people. So it'll be sad to see them, leave, but I'm excited to start my life. So that's it.
Thank you. Yay. And Thomas Johnson. Thomas Johnson.
I don't know what I'm going to be doing. Well, I know I'm going to be taking a break for a year before I go to college, and I'm probably going to go to college next year. But I just want to say I enjoyed high school. I met a lot of great people. I wasn't the most talkative of people, but I did enjoy high school, and I wish everybody the best of luck in our current situation.
Thank you. Beautifully said. to all of our graduates. Let's give them a round of applause. We offer all of our graduates peace and blessings. And it would not be a graduation or a baccalaureate service without making some kind of weird noise. And I found, I don't even know what you call this thing, but I know every graduation you're supposed to do something silly and crazy. So I was going to blow this and kind of see how it sounds on your little screen. Did you hear it? Okay. I don't know whether if any of you have something similar to celebrate your graduation where you throw your cap in the air. You're supposed to say, it's done. Hey. Okay. Does that relieve the stress? A little stress relieving. Let's see, Bailey, you were playing Pomp and Circumstance there at the beginning of the service.
Yeah.
And how about, are you willing to try it again as we're done?
Sure.
Are you playing it on something?
Yep, he's getting it. There we go.
There we go. We have to sing along. All of you are singing. Okay, that works. Thank you, Bailey. I thank you all for joining this service, and I hope it gave you some sense of closure. Probably is not going to be exactly like you didn't expect for your graduation, but mostly it was simply a way of kind of honoring the work you've done. You've done hard work in high school. Many of you are about to begin hard work elsewhere, but it should be a day and a time that you remember for the rest of your life, and I hope you do. I pray God's blessings upon all of our graduates. God bless each and every one of you. Peace and blessings.
Good luck.
Thank you.